You know, it's a really great feeling when you go to the TNA roster page, you look at their list of champions, and you see that every champion on that list is under the age of 40. It's just a wonderful feeling after the last year of the main event mafia being shoved down our throats. Anyway, if Bound for Glory is a sign of things to come in TNA, then I am very excited. In my opinion, Bound for Glory was TNA's best pay-per-view of the year. Now, granted, 2009 has not been a great year for TNA pay-per-views, but I do mean that in a good way. We had some great matches, clean finishes, young guys being elevated, old guys being phased out. You really couldn't ask for much more than that. They even had some celebrities there. Zakk Wylde doing the national anthem was awesome. Joey Fatone, I don't really care about, but he is a celebrity, I guess. I mean, the whole thing had a big show atmosphere. Maybe if they had advertised more in the area, they wouldn't have had to paper the show as much as they did, but it looked like they got a good sized crowd to show up. Anyway, opening match Ultimate X for the X Division title. They need to stop using the X Division as the opening match to pop the crowd at 8 p.m. I'm sorry. If you get an Ultimate X, that match should be the co main event of the show, just like it was at Destination X. Anyway, we had Amazing Red, Daniels, Suicide, Homicide, and the Motor City Machine Guns. D'Angelo Dinero had a family emergency, so he had to bail, and they put the Guns in there. So the Guns got a Bound for Glory spot after all. Awesome. And what an insane match this was. Oh my god. I'm not even going to try to recap this thing. What I will say is this. Remember the LAX Triple X Ultimate X match from Bound for Glory a couple years ago? That match is most remembered for Elix Skipper doing that incredible dive off the top of the stanchion pole. Well, the Daniels Suicide spot off the X was just like that. I couldn't believe those two came out of that bump in one piece. I mean, yeah, Daniels separated his shoulder, and Suicide was really banged up too, but it could have been so much worse. I mean, the effort these guys put in was just incredible. I mean, I absolutely think the right man won. I didn't want Amazing Red to be a transitional champion, and now he isn't. He got a huge win in a big match, beating out 5 other guys, and now Red looks like a strong champion, which he didn't look like last week. Next was the Knockout Tag Team title match. You know, like I said, this really should have been the match to crown the inaugural champions because that would have justified this match being on the card. As it is, it was just a rematch from a no surrender bout that wasn't even that memorable to begin with. I mean, the match was pretty short and not that great. I mean, yes, I do think the Knockout Tag titles needed to be defended on this show, but if this was the best match they could come up with, then I think it probably would have been a better idea to just keep it off the pay-per-view and give the time to one of the other matches. Velvet and Madison as a tag team are just not that good. I don't think anyone thought they were going to go over here. Taylor and Sarita need much better opponents than this. Problem is, there's no other tag teams they can feud with right now. I mean, the writers need to create some new viable teams, and they need to do it very quickly. Next, Legends title match. Eric Young, Hernandez, Kevin Nash. EY and Hernandez did fine, but Kevin Nash just did what Kevin Nash always does. He basically sleepwalked through the whole thing, and that's a big problem because he was booked to be on the offense for most of the match, unfortunately. Really, the only highlights for me were Hernandez doing the missile drop kick and the splash over the ropes. Other than that, the match was lackluster, but the finish with Eric Young pulling one over on Kevin Nash, I absolutely loved. I mean, I think we all expected Nash to lose the belt here. What I did not expect was Nash taking the pin, because they had the perfect excuse for Hernandez to do the job here, because it was basically 2-on-1 the whole time. But they had Nash do it instead, which was absolutely the right thing to do. Nash actually took one for the team here. I mean, he put over a young guy in a way that made him look bad and the young guy look great. Take a lesson from that one, Triple H and Undertaker. and then the post-match stare down, it was all Eric Young and Hernandez. I mean, as soon as he got pinned, Nash completely vanished and the spotlight was on the young guys. So the match wasn't much, but I think it was almost worth it for the end result that we got. Next, Full Metal Mayhem for the IWGP and TNA Tag Team titles. Chaotic, yeah. Too many people in it, maybe. But it was still a hell of a lot of fun. And getting Booker T out of there early on was a big plus. Hopefully that'll be the last time we see him in TNA. Once he was gone, everybody really stepped up. Even Steiner. Holy shit, I wasn't giving Steiner anything going into this match, but then he hit that huge flurry of suplexes. I mean, you know it's an important match to him when he breaks out the Frankensteiner, and he even took a table spot. I never thought for 1 second Steiner would take a bump like that. I mean, this was just a ton of fun. There weren't really any huge spots. and that's what you get when you book a match like this without a single high flyer. But it was a great match. Kind of sucks that Beer Money didn't win the belts back, but I think the Brits going over was the right call. And overall, the World Elite came out of this pay-per-view a lot stronger than they went in, which will really help with their credibility. Next, Knockouts title match, Kong Tara ODB. This one was kind of weird. The match itself was very good until they went outside the ring. But then TNA booked this worked shoot angle with Kim Couture attacking Tara, which took her out of the match for a few minutes, and it was kind of a confusing moment actually. As I understand it, TNA actually staged the whole thing this way on purpose to make it look like a shoot, and then they did a great job on that. I mean, I wasn't sure if it was a work or not until I read about it on PW Insider. I mean, TNA is bound to get some PR out of this in the MMA community, which I'm sure is what they were going for. The problem is this angle kind of killed the momentum of the match, and they never completely got it back after that. I mean, the crowd died after Tara got taken out, and they came back at the end for the finish, but I just wish TNA had staged this differently so it didn't affect the match as much as it did. However, I loved the finish. It was the perfect setup for Kong to finally turn on Saeed. They're going to have a match between those two on Impact this Thursday. With any luck, this will be the night when Alyssa is unmasked. Can't wait for that. Samoa Joe and Bobby Lashley submission match. This really would have benefited from a few more minutes. But they might have shortened it because Joe was really sick with the flu going in, apparently. I had no complaints about the match while it lasted. It was great to hear Joe's going to kill you chants again. Both guys brought it, and I have to say, Bobby Lashley has one hell of a vertical leap. That was really impressive. I mean, the finish kind of came out of nowhere, but otherwise, I was happy with the match. I wish Joe could have won, but I think we all knew that wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. Abyss versus Foley Monsters Ball. Abyss's bump on the stage was just crazy. Both guys took some really brutal shots here, but man, I really felt bad for Daphne. I mean, she shows up, hands Mick Foley a taser, and then she gets choke slammed off the turnbuckle through the barbed wire board to the floor, and the camera missed a spot. They missed the freaking spot. I mean, they caught it on the replay, but still, Daphne is just a whipping post at this point. I mean, I don't know what she has to do to get some appreciation from this company. I mean, she's just a girl who takes sick bumps and never gets pushed. Once again, I was happy with the match and the right guy went over. But I really think the time has come to retire the Monsters Ball, at least for a few years. I don't want to see Mick Foley and Abyss doing this kind of stuff to their bodies anymore. I mean, I appreciate the effort they put in, and once in a while it's okay, but it's just become overkill, especially for Abyss. I mean, there's other ways for you to get over, man. He shouldn't have to put his body through hell like that anymore. Next, Kurt Angle and Matt Morgan. In terms of pure wrestling, this was the best match of the night, and I think this was probably the best match Matt Morgan's ever had. I mean, I think this whole thing was just about perfect because this was one of those rare occasions where both guys got put over. I mean, Kurt wins the match, probably getting installed as the #1 contender to AJ's title, but Matt Morgan still gets elevated. He still gets the respect. He still comes out looking like a bigger star than he was when he went in. I mean, the way this played out was just as good as if Matt Morgan won the match. Everybody wins. Main event, Sting versus AJ Styles for the world title. And people can say what they want, botched finish, blah, 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 but you know what? If this was Sting's last match, then he can walk away knowing that he went in there with one of the best in the world and he didn't embarrass himself. I mean, they had a good match with Sting doing the right thing, putting over AJ Styles. Do I think this was Sting's last match? I hope so. I mean, I don't think he's going to get a better send-off than that. And as critical as I've been of Sting over the last year, I'm still a Sting fan, and I've always been a Sting fan. I mean, back in 1998, Sting was my favorite wrestler. I absolutely loved the guy. And speaking as a Sting fan, I would really love for him to never wrestle again. I mean, his legacy is secure. And I think if he stuck around for another year, any send-off he would get just wouldn't mean as much as this did. So overall, I was very happy with Bound for Glory. There was a definite changing of the guard feel throughout this whole pay-per-view. TNA is going in the right direction, and I'm excited to see what happens next. God damn, it feels good to be able to say that. That's all for this week. Good night, everyone.